Everybody please rise, put your right hand over your heart. Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call will reflect that all board members and cabinet are present either in person or electronically. The next thing we have is the oath of office by Scott Bailey.
Thank you, Vice President Griffith. It is my pleasure to swear in our first student board member this year for the 2021 school year. I'd like you to be introduced to Holly Hinman to my left. Holly is a senior at Horizon High School. Her proud parents are Joe and Siobhan Hinman. I believe Joe is back there in the audience. Greetings. Holly has attended Gerald Ford Elementary School, Palm Desert High School, and now Horizon School in Desert Sands. She has been actively involved in the California Mission Trips, Arts in the Garden fundraiser, the Palm Desert Film Club, and was recognized as Social Sciences Student of the Month. Her unique interests include presidential studies, film studies, music and songwriting, world history, creative writing, and theology. Her leadership service includes editor-in-chief of the school's monthly newsletter and Sunday school teacher. As a volunteer, she assisted a local resident, a Tuskegee Airman, for 15 months prior to his passing and served as the lead at Songshine for Parkinson's disease. When asked to describe a unique fact about herself, Holly states, and I quote, "Songwriting is a passion, and that just like writing poems, you're placing empathy into words, and I love the idea of recording a feeling to look back later on, years to come." Yet another fun fact, Holly memorized all of the U.S. presidents by the time she was 7 years old. Impressive. I won't quiz you tonight. Other than, I will ask you to join me down front to be sworn in this evening. Are you ready for that? Awesome.
Okay, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 18th, 2020?
So moved.
By Mr. Tomac. Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Meeting addenda.
Two items this evening. Under General Function Personnel Services, we're pulling one item from the agenda, that is item 20.7. First reading of 4141.6 and 4241.6. Those are policies. Pulling item 20.7 from the agenda. And the second, Under personnel actions, we want to note on page 15, number 71, that's item 71 of page 15 of the certificated list, there was a typographical error for an employee. The word Julie should read Judy. So first name Julie should read Judy. Those are the two items for addenda.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? By Anna Conover, is there a second? Okay, by Ms. Hinman. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, or preferential vote?
Aye.
They say anything? Did you hear them? All those opposed? Okay, looks like 6-0. Okay, community staff student recognition. Mr. Bailey?
Few items this evening, thank you. First and foremost, I had the pleasure of awarding Blanche Ramirez her 35-year pin recently, so 35 years in the district. I don't think Blanche is in here right now, but we recognize her. And also a shout out to Desert Sands Education Foundation. They held their live event in partnership with KESQ Saturday night in partnership with a lot of our local restaurants and other community partners, including our city officials that were on air. So we appreciate their support. During the event, Kelly Stewart, the general manager at Ritz-Carlton, who's a great friend of the district, Rancho Mirage, she was able to recognize the grand prize winners of the 2019, there's Blanche, sorry.
35 years.
35 years. I thought you weren't going to make it to 36. I'm glad you're here. So, General Manager Kelly Stewart from the Ritz-Carlton recognized the grand prize winners of the 2019-2020 You've Got It employee recognition. You've got incredible talent, the IT. So I congratulate the four winners of the grand prize. First of all, for the Ritz-Carlton State Fair dinner, Dr. Jose Montano, the principal at Jackson, was one of the winners, and Tamara Gilbert, one of our teachers at Madison Elementary School, was also another winner for State Fair dinner. And for the spa, Veronica Ortega at Hoover Elementary and Diana Fry, Madison Elementary. So two winners from Madison, one from Hoover and one from Jackson. We congratulate the You've Got It award, grand prize award winners from last school year. That's it.
Dr. Salazar, introduction of new or recently promoted employees.
Tonight, I would like to introduce everybody to our new Lcap Coordinator, Mrs. Wood, Kristen Wood. Would you like to come on up, please, to the podium? There you go. That's a long walk. Mrs. Wood is excited about her promotion to the position of Lcap Coordinator, and she truly believes in service leadership, and she has been blessed to serve Desert Sands since 1996 in her roles as a teacher, a leadership advisor, instructional coach, facilitator, and administrator. For the past 24 years, Mrs. Wood has loved being a member of this community. She believes in doing whatever it takes to ensure student success and strives to highlight the fun within the fundamentals of education when supporting our leaders as they implement best practices. Our new Lcap coordinator is the mother to 5 children, 3 La Quinta High graduates, that includes 1 in nursing school, 1 in the culinary world, and 1 currently attending Cal State San Bernardino. And she has 2 current Shadow Hills High School students. One is a senior taking AP classes who also competes on the varsity baseball team, and the other one is currently running for freshman class treasurer. Mrs. Wood considers herself blessed to be married to an incredible instructional leader, mentor, and best friend, Dr. Marcus Wood. And their household is fun and energetic with 2 dogs, a crazy parakeet, and a bearded dragon who has his own Instagram account. I know when I called Kristen one night and she picked up the phone, I didn't know she was at home. I thought she was still at school. And I said, "Oh, are you in the gym?" She said, "No, that's my house." It is a crazy place. Having 5 kids and being involved in youth activities and sports, especially sports, and a lot of sports, has given Mrs. Wood many opportunities to meet the families of our community, build friendships, and support her kids who will eventually grow up to become our new leaders. She wants the board to know she is grateful to be a member of this village, raising amazing kids. And congratulations on your new appointment, Kristen.
Thank you, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the board and cabinet for supporting me. I'm really excited about this opportunity to work with all of our stakeholders to ensure the best for our students at Desert Sands.
Well, congratulations
Thank
again.
you.
Would you like to introduce your family if they're here?
Sure, Dr. Marcus Wood is here. Dr. Salazar's already kind of briefed you guys on that, but he's been here with me, supporting me, and we're really excited about working together.
Happy to have you in
Thank
educational
you.
services.
Thank you.
President, it's a real treat to see you in a new position over here. There's always a lot of talent that comes out at Shadow Hills, and to see you, the energy that you had every time that I went over to visit the school. I mean, you're out in the fields, you're into the classrooms, you're into the office, you're everywhere out there. So it's a well-deserved promotion, and it's been nice to watch your career just blossom over the years here in Desert Sands. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, you will be missed at Shadow Hills. I know Mr. Fajardo was saying how much you are already missed. Congratulations, though.
Wendy Jonathan, would you like to make any comments towards Mrs. Wood?
Yeah, congratulations. As my colleagues have said, that you will be missed at Shadow Hills, but I can't think of somebody with such an incredible background more fit to take over the position in Lcap. So I know you're going to do an incredible job, and I'm so happy that you are taking on the challenge.
I'd just like to say the same thing. Congratulations. We're looking forward to you doing great things, and good luck. President Porras, do you have any comments?
Yes, Kristen, I'm so excited for you. This is just an awesome opportunity for us to have you in this position. You are always positive and always forward thinking, and I'm just so happy for you, and you are such a blessing to us and to your family, obviously, and I know that Marcus is so proud of you. So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Ms. Hinman, would you like to say anything?
Sure. Congratulations. Congratulations on your promotion, and best of luck on your future endeavors.
Okay, so we will move along to information items, which we have none, and then we will do staff conference items, which we also have none.
Then we'll have our public hearing, which we have none. And now we will go to discussion on COVID-19 response. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. This is an ongoing fixed item on the agenda since the March emergency closures across California. So on Friday, this is the update part. On Friday, August 28th, the California Department of Public Health issued a new 4-tier tracking system identified as the blueprint for a safer economy, which replaces what we knew as the county monitoring list. You may remember we've been on the monitoring list for quite some time. The new 4-tiered system is based on just 2 factors: test positivity rates and incidence of new cases per population. Each tier is associated with a color. Tier 1 is purple, Tier 2 red, Tier 3 orange, Tier 4 yellow. Under the new tracking system, schools in some counties, for example, Orange County, which I'm sure you read about, that recently came off the monitoring list, may not be able to reopen because now they're in a different status on the new program. Under the new tracking system, counties are identified as falling into one of the 4 tiers, with Tier 1 being the most restrictive. So think of Tier 1 as being on the monitoring list previous. Tier 1 applies if the daily new cases per 100,000 exceeds 7, or if the test positivity rate exceeds 8%. Given these criteria, most counties in California, in fact, approximately 87% of California students are currently in Tier 1 status, including Riverside County. Once counties have been in a particular tier for 3 weeks, according to the new guidelines, or 21 days, and fall below the levels which apply to the next tier for 14 days, they move to the next lower tier. So in our case, we're at 1, and we want to get to 2, so we could consider bringing back students. Under the new guidance, schools may reopen for in-person instruction only if their county has been in Tier 2 status for at least 2 weeks. Current case rate per 100,000 in Riverside County is at 10.4. We need to be in the 4 to 7 range for 14 days to move to Tier 2 red. Current positivity rate, I checked right before the board meeting, in Riverside County is 8.6%. To move from Tier 1 to Tier 2 red status, we need to be in the 5 to 8% range, so we're very close and have to be there for 14 days. The good news is that the data appear to be trending in a positive direction. As you know, the county has recently shared a waiver process for elementary schools. To date, approximately 25 private schools have applied for the waiver, and 5 have been approved thus far. As the county data continue to trend in a positive direction, we are hopeful that we can gain Tier 2 status soon without the need to apply for that waiver. We will continue to collaborate with our employee associations to that end. Once on Tier 2 status, the school board will weigh in, as directed previously, on the appropriate next steps for safely reopening our schools consistent with our existing plan, DSUSD moving forward, which is loaded on our website, and associated public health guidelines. So when we do come back, we still have to comply with the public health guidelines, including social distancing, the masks, and so forth. Guidelines for in-person instructional opportunities for small group service to students in need of the most acute care were recently announced by the California Department of Public Health as well. Mrs. Laura Fisher, when she gets to her update for student support services, will be speaking to the opportunities therein. That concludes my updates. I now will defer to the assistant superintendents in each of their areas of responsibility, beginning with Dr. May Vollmer for Education Services. Dr. May Vollmer.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to update you on a couple of areas in educational services as it pertains to COVID-19. The first of that is the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, which Mrs. Wood, who was just introduced, has been fervently working on ever since she started only a few days ago. And as you might remember, Senate Bill 98 established that the Local Control and Accountability Plan, or the LCAP, as we call it, and the annual update to the LCAP are not required for the 2021 school year. However, the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, what's also being called the Learning Continuity Plan, or the LCP, is now become a key part of the overall budget package for K-12 and seeks to address funding stability for schools while providing information at the local level as to how student learning continuity will be addressed during COVID-19 and specifically in the 2021 school year. So Educational Services is in the midst of writing the draft of this learning continuity plan in conjunction with departments from all over the district, all the while soliciting input from our district parent advisory groups. And currently we've met with each of these parent advisory groups to solicit their input and their feedback on the draft plan of the LCP. And later this week, we'll also be meeting with our principal group and also with our pre-existing LCAP advisory committee, who will be meeting with us to provide one-time input on the LCP plan for 2021. So we are well on our way. This will come to the board on September 15th for a public hearing and also for a first read, and then come back for final approval before September 30th. The other item that I wanted to update the board on is the parent information nights and training sessions that Educational Services has been hosting since right before school resumed in distance learning. And these sessions are entitled Going the Distance Together. And we have a group of amazing educators from across the district, from many of our schools, and also in the Educational Services Department, that have come together to really make sure that parents are informed and to provide training so that they can best support their students during distance learning. Our first Going the Distance parent meeting had over 11,000 views on it's hosted on the Desert Sands YouTube channel, and so parents can go revisit that at any time if they want to watch it at their own pace, or they want to go back and review some of the information that was shared. it's accessible for them to be able to do that. We had our second Going the Distance parent training meeting and had over 300 parents live in attendance as it was streaming. And since that time, over 1,000 people have visited that. And so both of these sessions, like I mentioned, are accessible still on our webpage. And our next meeting will be September 9th, and we'll be focusing on how to access the different platforms that our students are using and the tools that they're using, specifically things like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Classroom. And the focus of this one is specifically for our K-5 students, because they are our student group with the least experience navigating these tools. So we'll be focusing on that during the evening, and we invite parents to join us. And even though it's focused on K-5, it's open for any parents to watch and to learn so that they can support their students at home. And that concludes my updates.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to my right, Dr. Salazar, Personnel Services.
I'm surprised. I'm usually last. That's great.
I'm shifting tonight.
Well, I want to let you know that the district is scheduled to meet with DSTA next week on September 9th to negotiate another MOU. This one will cover various forms of in-person learning. The current MOU we have with DSTA just covers distance learning. So we're scheduled to do that on the 9th, and that's something we're looking forward to getting settled and squared away. That's it.
Thank you very much. Business Services, Mr. Aquino.
Hello, good evening, board. As of August 31st, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, who oversees our school nutrition program, has set up new guidelines for how we deliver meals to our community. So starting tomorrow, all meals that will be provided to families in the community will be, or students in the community are all free. So regardless if the student qualifies for free and reduced lunch, all students will receive free meals, and that will be at every school site. So we're keeping the distribution the same at every school. Now we will be closed on Labor Day, but starting September 9th, which is on Wednesday, we will be shifting the time that we're providing meals from 7 to 9:30. So we're starting a little bit earlier. That way we could give some of our families a little bit more time and due to the school schedule. So that's good news. Now that waiver for school meals at all schools free of charge will be effective from tomorrow all the way to December 31st. So that's really good news for the community. Now, when we closed schools back in March, at that same time, I'm shifting gears a little bit here, CDE released what the district's average net ending fund balance for the unrestricted general fund was. At that time, an average school district, a unified school district in the state of California was 17.26%. We were at that same period, 11.4%. So we were a lot lower than what the statewide average is. Now, once school closed, there's a lot of things that happened since then where we weren't filling any positions, we froze spending, we froze some of our hiring, we weren't paying utilities at the same frequent, as far level of intensity that we normally would if all classrooms were open. So overall, we had a shift in our budget of a savings of about $10 million. So just to go over what that is, it's a combination of both supplemental and concentration and some of that discretionary funding, but we were able to recuperate about 1.6 million due to not having to incur things like extra duty, overtime, the payment for substitutes, some stipends, those types of things. Our freeze in spending saved us for the materials and supplies at about 1.8 million. We suspended travel and conferences since schools were closed. That was about 344,000. Our utilities was a large savings as well. We have more expensive costs as the hotter months come. That was about $735,000. In addition to that, some of our contracts, because we weren't utilizing them at the same level or same frequency, that was about $1.1 million. In addition to that, with the CARES funding, we're trying to maximize how we utilize our CARES funding. And during the time we closed schools, that we incurred a lot of expenses, and we were able to shift a lot of those expenses to some of the CARES funds. And that came out to about $2.8 million. So overall, in addition to not spending some of that cash that we would normally spend during that time that school was closed, we kept back some of that cash, which enabled us to earn a lot more interest than we were anticipating. So overall, it was a one-time savings of $10 million, which about $5 million of that is for supplemental concentration dollars. So overall, closing the books was a good thing that we were able to realize some of those savings from closing of schools. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino. And now to wrap up, we have Mrs. Fisher, Student Support Services.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bailey. And as Mr. Bailey mentioned in his report, one of the other in-person instruction options that we've received that doesn't require a waiver, Governor Newsom actually announced it several weeks ago, and the guidance just came out on the 25th. And that is for small group in-person instruction for our more acute student needs. And usually when we're looking at that, it is our more mod severe students with disabilities and other groups of students that have acute needs. What we're looking at as a district is to start with that subset of students with disabilities and more mod severe to start the process. And the guidance that Governor Newsom actually put forward is very specific, because obviously we know those kids have a more even difficult time doing online instruction. But we also want to make sure as we bring people in, both staff and students, that we keep all the health and safety guidelines in place to ensure that we're not exposing anyone and we're keeping everyone safe. So one of the guidance requirements is a cohort size. You know, what Governor Newsom stated is no more than 14 students with 2 adults. You can have less than that, and obviously our mod severe classes are staffed with many more adults due to the needs of the students. So we can have less students than 14, a teacher and a para, but also what is allowed is all our related service providers can go in and out of that cohort. They're the only ones that can, and then any student that has additional needs, whether they be medical, instructional, whatever, can also be in that group. The cohort has to stay the same. That cohort stays together during that whole time that they're at school. We don't mix the cohorts, and we don't mix the staff other than like the speech pathologist or OT that may be providing services. Supervising adults, as I said, only work with that cohort. We can, if a teacher is out, have a substitute, but again, that sub could only work with that cohort of students. And all meetings among staff would be actually conducted remotely, outdoors, or in large rooms where we could have the physical distancing. We would have, obviously, the physical distancing with adults, but understanding, depending on the age and developmental and social emotional needs, both the physical distancing and the face covers could vary depending on what the students' needs are. We also would be cleaning the classrooms and disinfecting, at least daily or more frequently, depending on the schedule of what that would look like. And then screenings again would occur for both staff and students. So to get started with this, obviously, as Dr. Salazar mentioned, the MOU would include not only hybrid, but now this small group in-person instruction. And we also need to get an idea of what parents are interested. So a survey will be going out this week to parents to see if they're interested, and if they are interested, would they be utilizing the special education transportation, because that would be an impact too. And then a survey going out to teachers to see who would be interested in coming in and providing that in-person instruction. So we're just at the beginning. Getting that information in, working on the MOU, and looking at the number of students and number of teachers to see what that scheduling looks like. But I know that that is certainly a group that, and we've all had issues with distance learning as we're moving along, but that certain group of students definitely would be the ones that we would start bringing in initially for in person. Along with that, as we approved at the last board meeting, the Avail software that is developed for our students with the severe moderate needs or mod severe needs. And so that is, the teachers have been training on that, and we're getting that out, and that will be used not only online, but also in the classrooms. So we're starting with that. We're excited to see and to be able to safely bring students and staff in. Also, we are continuing to work on our attendance and alternative participation. And as we know with SB 98, it looks very different this year. And because not only are we counting when kids, you know, join the Zoom class and participate, which is what is required, and we want all kids to do that. But knowing there can be issues with either technical issues or other things, we also, per SB 98, are counting attendance if they complete an assignment outside of the classroom, or if they have technical issues and the parents call in. We are really looking at all situations. And I know some parents have had some real issues, and sometimes they feel like their child's being counted absent when they're not, but we also have to know it takes a while for the teachers to go through at the end of each day to mark and see. It's easy to take attendance when the child is there at Zoom, but then they have to go back through and look at what assignments have been turned in, if they've had emails and stuff. So it does take a little bit to fix the attendance if it needs to be fixed. But it's an evolving process that truly is evolving business, ed services, and student services, because it has such an impact with attendance. So we had a Zoom meeting with all the office staff that does the attendance with them first, and did a presentation to them. We have a process overview for teachers that we're just fine tuning, and we'll have completed to be able to present principals and be able to put a presentation together that can be recorded and presented out at SAST meetings for the teachers, because this is a very different process. And as I said, it's an evolving process that may have changes as we go, because everything needs to meet the requirements of the auditors and everything else to ensure that we are doing it correctly. So we've been able to learn in other, like we talked about otherwise, because we started school later, we've been able to learn from other districts and feel our process is certainly a good start into what we need to, information we need to keep. On another note, September is Suicide Prevention Month, and our SAP and mental health therapists and counselors have put together another presentation that will be recorded, and that's another opportunity for teachers to be able to listen to. It's so important. Teachers are usually that first person. If kids are having issues, you know, they're so close to teachers, and sometimes the teachers are the ones that see the red flags first. And so we want to make sure that they have the training and information that they need for that. That's been out from staff and our mental health. It's also September 21st through the 25th is another Start with Hello, which is from the Sandy Hook Promise. It's going to be a little different because it'll be a virtual hello, but we've sent out information. The principals have already, and their counselors are coming up with some great ideas, and we look forward to see how creative we can be virtually with our Start with Hello. And then as Dr. mentioned, the distance parent meetings, I'll be joining the next one to talk more to the parents about the attendance and participation, and take those questions and hopefully help them understand how it works, because it's so different this year. And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. That concludes our remarks.
Thank you. Public comment on open session items, Mr. Tomac.
Thanks, Mr. Griffith. We have 3 folks that would like to speak to us on a variety of issues tonight. In addition to that, there were a number of comments that were emailed to the district within the last, since the last board meeting. Some of them did not want to be read out loud, but I'd like to assure everyone that all the board members did receive those. And we do have 20 people that have responded online, and I'll be reading those comments. So begin with Ms. Trina Gonzalez-Alessi, DSTA President.
Good evening. This is my first time speaking with a shield. I think it will be easier than with a mask. I might not run out of breath. Once again, Mr. Tumak, maybe you will learn how to pronounce my name correctly. It's Alisi, Trina Gonzalez Alisi. And I've said it the last couple of times that you've mispronounced it, but mispronouncing somebody's last name is kind of considered a microaggression, so if you could correct that, that would be appreciated. I wanted to share some of the main concerns that I'm getting from teachers since we've started school on August 17th, but it's not all gloom and doom, so just don't worry about that. I just want to share and make sure that you know, as not being a teacher, except for Ms. Conover, the amount of screen time for students and teachers is really, really concerning. And I'm working with Cabinet because seems to be a variety of interpretations on the part of principals for how much screen time needs to be there. And hearing from teachers who say that their principals check in like the last 5 or 10 minutes of their 80-minute block just to make sure that they're still on the screen time for 80 minutes. So we're working together on that, but that is something that is an issue, trying to complete this distance learning. Also, the special education requirements, there's a new form that needs to be filled out for being able to abide by an IEP in distance learning. And it is taking an incredible amount of time to complete these for everybody on their caseload. Again, I'm working with Cabinet to try to see if we can give them some assistance because there's a deadline for that also. So they're really, really, really overwhelmed with that. And then I'm not sure if you're aware, but the students that Ms. Fisher was just talking about, our most neediest students who are in the moderate to severe special education program, those are the teachers that they're going to be asking to come back first if they're allowed to come back in that small cohort. On the first day of school, halfway through the school day on August 19th, those teachers received an email from Ms. Fisher saying that they would not get a 7th, which is when you work through your prep period and you don't get a prep period, so you get paid for that extra class period that you teach. Some teachers have had that for up to 10 years. They got that in the middle of the day. On the first day of school. And one teacher even emailed back and said, well, will I at least get it for today because I've already worked through my prep? And they were told, no, you won't. So I'm not sure that that's the way that group of teachers should be treated when they're the ones that are going to be on the front line first if we can bring back small cohorts for our neediest students. To wrap up, I just do want to say that DSTA appreciates the care and diligence that the district is putting forth, looking out for our safety for students and staff. Everybody wants to be back in the classroom, but only when it's safe to do so. So we do appreciate the care and concern that you show for our health issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Eric Presser.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Eric Presser, and I'm a thoracic surgeon. That means I operate in the chest. I'm also on plenty of boards, so I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I know how hard it is to focus. I also work in skilled nursing facilities with hospice patients and also do wound care. So you're not going to meet anybody that has been in contact with more sick and asymptomatic patients than me in the last 6 months. When I say I'm a chest surgeon, it means that I operate in the chest, and I'm exposed every time I operate on somebody. I have not ever been sick. I do not know anyone at the hospitals that I work at all throughout the valley that has been as sick as what they say. I'm getting frustrated of listening to my patients, but more importantly, I'm here as a father, okay? I have a 13-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter, and all they want to do is go back to school. What's interesting is I had a couple other things to say, but because I only have 2 minutes, I want to comment on the rationalization of getting back to school. It makes no sense. What we are given twice a week now are the amount of cases in Riverside County, which is about 51,500 as of last I checked, with about 984 deaths. That's a 1.9% rate. This is not going away. When you try to put people back in school because of the amount of cases you have, you're not focusing on what's important. This does not affect children the way it affects the immunocompromised and the elderly. A few years ago, if you saw someone wearing a mask, you thought they were crazy or they were undergoing chemotherapy. Now it's just a way of life. And what I am imploring you to do is to make sure that you do everything in your possible power to get our kids back in school. No one is going to sit there and argue that not being in school is the best thing for them. It's the best thing for them. It's not just about academics. It's about social, emotional support, well-being. Whoever that was, I'm sorry, no disrespect, she's talking about how the teacher is the first one to recognize that someone has a mental problem. They need help. How can you do that through a Zoom class? It's impossible. My little girl, she cries every few days because she just wants to go back to school. She wants to learn. She's hungry. As a physician, I'm telling you, please, stop listening to the fear. Understand that if you take precautions, you can be safe. Anyone in this room or outside of this room who is obese, has other comorbidities, is over the age of 65, you're not going to do that well if you get the flu. You're not going to do that well if you get anything else. If you have asthma, COPD, you're on home oxygen, you have to take the proper precautions. It's the same thing with COVID-19. The only difference is that when you come into the hospital, there's no standard of care. The best thing about children is that they listen. They actually follow the rules. They do not get lax like everyone did for Mother's Day and July 4th. If you tell them to stand in line one by one and go outside because we have a fire drill, they do it. It's possible. Get our children back in school, please. I'm begging you. Thank you.
Please.
In 4 hours. Would you be able to stay seated in a staff meeting for 4 hours with no break? What about your 10-year-old selves? Could you do it? Would you be able to stay seated? Because that is what's happening to my son in his elementary classes. Of course not. That's not developmentally appropriate. That would be wrong. And thank goodness that never happened to your 10-year-old self. You might have become a different person if you had to do it day after day after day. And no one was in a rush to apply for a waiver as your soul was sucked out of you in front of a screen. Who would you be? This has to be addressed by the board and the district. Fortunately, when I emailed my son's teacher, she responded and tried to offer a few more breaks after I respectfully reached out to her. But these breaks should be mandatory by the district and clearly respected and scheduled by the school site. Why can't we do that? Why can't we say, this is the time on Zoom and this is the time you're not being monitored on the computer? Because I could have videotaped my son for 4 hours and he was afraid to go to the bathroom, afraid to go on black screen, and it wasn't just in his mind because I have all of his friends who are in the same class. And after I emailed the teacher, she asked the class the next day, did I give you a break yesterday? And they all said no. Because we want to get all the curriculum taught, right? But these breaks have to be mandatory. They have to be mandatory for the teachers, they have to be mandatory for the students, and when they do asynchronous instruction, they should be allowed to be away from their camera and not on camera during asynchronous instruction, and that is a big problem. I just heard the DSTA talk about the screen time, and it is killing my child. It is killing my child. A son who used to love to go to school, who would do anything the teacher asked, will not refuse a teacher when he's being told to stay in front of Zoom for 4 hours. He doesn't know how to speak up for himself, so I am here to speak up for him. I am here to ask you to see behind the screen and what it looks like. I'm asking you, mask up and go into the new classrooms, our homes, so that you can start with mine and see what's happening, so you can make those decisions based on what is going on behind the screen, because teachers can't see it. They can't see what's happening, and you can't see it either, but I can. I'm asking that you mandate breaks for elementary students that are clearly outlined that everyone has to follow. And I support waivers for elementary schools for students to return to the classroom. Not every day you're killing students, you're killing their souls, you're killing their level of learning. It's an urgent matter, but I don't feel the urgency here. You say the numbers are trending downward, so we don't have to apply for a waiver. But every day that the kids are not in school, they're suffering.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Now I have 20 comments to read that have been sent in, and please bear with me on these. I'll try to keep them, each one of them, to no more than 3 minutes as the normal rules dictate. First one is from Yuri Bajarano, I believe it's pronounced. Is that on July 10th, I emailed every board member, and only because I constantly, can you hear me okay? Okay. Only because I constantly kept following up with my email, I received a call from Scott Bailey a month and a half later, where he shared with me that you and the board have been proactive in all possible scenarios, one being Zoom bombing. The very next day, I sent you a screenshot of a child in our district being targeted by pedophiles and traffickers. Once again, no response from anyone on the board. You had 5 months to get it right. You said you learned from the spring and things would be different. It's obvious that distance learning is not as wonderful as you made it out to be. There should not be a one-size-fits-all solution, and you should be fighting for our students to have a choice. We, the taxpayers, parents, should have the right to choose. How can McDonald's be more essential than a classroom? How can riots be acceptable but not a person's education? Have any of you been to Walmart, Target, Home Depot? No social distancing, PPEs, temperature checks, and yet they are packed and thriving. Why aren't you helping us fight to open our schools? Surely we have more common sense than a supermarket to ensure the safety of our children. I have said it once and I'll say it again. I will be more than happy to sign a waiver releasing you from any liability. You have us sign them for our kids to do sports. Why can't that be applied now? Number 2 is Katie Courson. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking all of the teachers and staff during these difficult and unforeseen times. The teachers are going above and beyond to make an acceptable effort in distance learning. I have 3 children in grades kinder through 5, and although there are some technical struggles occasionally, they are doing an amazing job at distance learning. Their teachers at Amelia Earhart never cease to amaze me. I am hoping that we can continue this path throughout the entirety of the school year. I do, however, worry that when and if the schools open back up to the hybrid learning, that my children will be left on the back burner to those who are back in the classroom. How do you propose the teachers will be able to handle online distance learning and teaching in person? I really hope this was taken into consideration with the survey that was provided to both staff and parents to pair the children with teachers who wish to continue distance learning versus those who would like to return to the classroom. I worry that our teachers will get extremely burnt out trying to work in person and online. How do they propose the schedules will be when the changes are made? I would hate for another change to disrupt the children's schedule that we are finally falling into a routine with. Please take these items into consideration when and if you open to in-person learning, as we should all have a fair and equal learning opportunity for all children with as little disruption as possible. Thank you for your time. Number 3 is Channel Jordan. Since school began, our children have received 9 days of instruction. Of those 9 days, my child has maybe been able to receive 2 full days of decent connection with a teacher. We were told this leg of distance learning would be different than last semester. The district would be prepared. However, days 1 and 2 clearly indicated this was not the case. Servers are not large enough to maintain the mass logins. Google Classroom is the only acceptable half the time. Kids who can't connect are marked absent, adding to their stress and frustration. Working parents are completely ignored. The less fortunate cannot afford internet or devices not given by the district and suffer connection issues, attendance violations, meal travel issues. There is no quality of education actually happening in DSUSD at all. Number 4 is Kirby Morgan. Special ed students are being denied FAPE due to distance learning. They are not being given equal access to their education needs. No outside support are being offered when private therapy sessions are holding in-person sessions. These children are just regressing by the day and being denied their right to a meaningful education. Number 5, Carla Busalis. It's time for our children to return to school. This current format is not working. I am a single mom with a freshman in La Quinta High School, and a 7th grader at John Glenn Middle. We have not had one single smooth day yet. I've been pulled in too many directions with trying to work full-time and trying to play teacher / IT for both kids. My son is yet to complete one school day where he was easily able to log into all classes. Today, my daughter had 2 Zoom classes hacked with inappropriate content, and the teachers had no clue how to handle it and get it off the screens. Aside from all the technical and logistical issues, the kids' mental health is at risk. They need to be in school, socializing, and learning in a classroom setting. My daughter has always excelled academically, but this is killing her drive to do well in school as she struggles to focus at home. If parents don't want their kids to return, they can continue battling with Zoom meetings and make that choice for their children. But those of us who want our kids back in school deserve to have a choice as well. Number 6 is Veronica Rubio. Thank you so much for choosing distance learning for our children, teachers, and families. Distance learning will be our only option this year, knowing that my children are thriving. We are making the best of the situation. We are motivated and ready to tackle the year. Number 7 is Caitlin Myers. Distance learning is not only difficult for our students, but our teachers and our parents. Please open our schools for the hybrid option. Those who wish to keep their children home will still get a choice to do so. Let those of us who are ready to return to school be given a choice as well. It has been 24 weeks since our schools closed. Let's not forget the social and mental health is also important in the overall health of our children. Thank you. Number 8 is Teresa Jones. Please apply for permission from the state or county to come back to on-campus school. My son is struggling with this distance learning. He has an IEP to help with his learning gap that has developed because of his ADHD. He's already behind, and now I feel that gap will become enormous without the one-on-one help that he used to get last year. He gets none of that as of right now. I believe this is a violation of his IEP. He's a very smart kid, but struggles with reading and writing, which is common with ADHD. Sitting in front of a computer is very hard on him. He is normally a fidgety student on campus. I hear that from his teachers, that he needs frequent redirection and reminders to stay on task. But at home with just a computer screen, it is 10 times as hard on him. I have cut my hours at my job, and I'm doing some work from home so I can be home with him to try and keep him on track. I am lucky that my employer has allowed me to do this, but the loss of income is a great concern, especially when my husband, already laid off since March, is still unemployed. I know we are just one family and my son is just one student, but there are many, many others struggling as well. I want everyone to be safe and healthy. I don't want any teacher, staff, or children to become sick or to take the virus home to loved ones, but I feel the damage to our children's education and emotional and social well-beings are of greater concern. Let's set up a system where we can choose if we go back on campus or not. Parents and teachers should be able to make the choice. Thank you for your time, and please consider applying for permission to return to on-campus school. Number 9 is Ashley Giannoni. I understand that COVID is scary. I understand teachers not wanting to put themselves or their family members at unnecessary risk. I don't understand how teachers' lives are being considered more important than daycare workers or YMCA employees, the alternative for parents that have to work, construction workers, retail employees, fast food and restaurant employees, basically all of America. If I can send my child to the YMCA, why can't I send my child to school? I'm sorry, but I consider a child's education essential. I appreciate the efforts being made by teachers and try to give some type of education during this pandemic, but it's a failure. My child is 7 in the second grade and being expected to sit in front of a computer while his teacher is on Zoom for 6 hours. My child is bored to the point he is not retaining any information. He does not get PE class to break up the day and get some energy out. He does not get an art class because the district has eliminated that position at his school. You are expecting children to stay engaged on a Zoom meeting all day that most adults wouldn't be able to last through. Our children are suffering and missing out on such an important aspect of life. Plus, the district has never specifically addressed the concerns of working parents. It's been ignored and just basically left on parents to choose over food on the table or giving their child a proper education. I can't expect my daycare provider to be responsible for my child's education, and I can't quit my job. So where does that leave my child? It leaves him behind. You are forcing parents to enroll their children in a private school if they can even afford it, which is going to cause so many problems for public school funding in the future. Your decision to keep schools closed is going to have a lasting effect, and it won't be a good effect. And number 10 is Michelle Nielsen. First of all, I want to thank the teachers for doing the best they can and being super patient with our kids while we have to do distance learning. With that being said, now is the time to start getting our kids back into the classroom. Numbers are drastically down in the valley and distance learning is not working for most kids. Internet issues, Zoom issues, hacker issues, etc., is making this school year a disaster. Just yesterday, my daughter's classroom was hacked with the song WAP and had people shouting inappropriate language throughout the entire period. This is not okay. Kindergartners are being forced to sit in front of a computer screen for hours on end. This is not healthy. What about children with learning disabilities? They have no support during this time. I've been active and involved in all of the district meetings as well as sat in all of the superintendent live videos and have asked numerous questions. I've also emailed the district multiple times. Neither the district or the superintendent have offered any care, concern, or options for us working parents. Our kids are falling behind because the district refused to acknowledge the majority of families have a 2 working parent household and distance learning cannot work. There has been no compassion for those of us essential workers that ask how are we supposed to accomplish distance learning with our kids. People just tell us rudely, put our big girl panties on, stop complaining, teachers aren't babysitters, and stop being so selfish. All we're asking is for options to help our children while we are also essential. Now is the time for parents of kids that want or need to go back into the classroom to be heard. We have not been heard this entire time. What about single parents? Do you really expect people to have to choose between teaching their kids online and putting a roof over their head and food on the table? DSUSD, you are going to be responsible when kids fall behind because you refuse to do anything for essential workers, single parents, etc. As a healthcare worker, what happens if all of us that had children just decided to stop working at local hospitals because we have to stay home and teach our children? This is not about needing a babysitter. This is about the district providing us with the education our children deserve. I am begging you at this point, since no one responds to any of my questions or concerns, please let our children back into the classroom. Number 11, Matt Nielsen. I have not ridden into the district before, but after seeing what distance learning is doing, or not doing for that matter, for my kindergartner, I felt compelled to. I would like to say that my daughter's teacher is amazing and so patient, so this has absolutely nothing to do with her. But the kids cannot learn on Zoom. My daughter is bored out of her mind with distance learning. When I pick her up from daycare, yes, daycare, because my wife and I are both essential workers and cannot do the distance learning with her ourselves, and ask her how her day went, she tells us, it was boring. I don't want to talk about it. Kids, especially elementary school age kids, need constant interaction. How do you expect them not to fall behind when you force them to sit in front of a computer screen all day? Whatever is being taught is literally going in one ear and out the other. Nothing will be retained from what the kids are taught with distance learning. The district will be responsible for these kids falling behind. Please let our kids go back to in-person learning. Number 12, Elena Kieran. I'm concerned with the current distance learning schedule as it stands. My student is struggling to keep up with the expectation to focus on the computer for long blocks of time prescribed in the schedule. He ended 3 of his 5 days of school last week with a headache. He usually loves school but dreads it now. He is struggling to absorb anything after 45 minutes in this format. That kind of seems like an unreasonable attention span for his age. According to most studies, the average attention span for learning is about 20 minutes. The schedule as it is kind of mimics live school. The long blocks of time applied to the distance learning environment detracts from being able to receive the actual content in much of a meaningful way. With in-person schools, subject matter changed every hour or so, and so did the media or environment. Students experience a range of emotions in their face-to-face exchanges. All of these things help reset the brain and make those long chunks of time manageable. Those things can't be replicated in the home environment given the schedule requirements. A 20 or 50-minute break in the day in the home environment does not allow enough time to really change the environment or faces. The student is stuck in the same workspace with the same few people from 8 until 2. By having to funnel a day of school through the computer is almost real time. It just translates to the student as more computer. It doesn't matter what the subject is, PE, math, library, art, or having to do it all via computer in real time. The student's experience is computer, computer, computer. The schedule for distance learning is unreasonable for teachers as well. It's not fair to expect teachers to be able to deliver computer content that is meaningful and memorable to a computer-fatigued audience. Who can deliver an engaging lesson when it's hour 2 or 3 of the audience being at a computer, let alone hours 4, 5, or 6 doing the same thing? The only people I can think of that can do that are the fine folks at Netflix, and they provide a pause and rewind to allow for an audience needs. It must also be demoralizing for teachers to pour so much effort into a lesson that can't be absorbed. The teacher is not able to pay attention because they are fatigued. The schedule as it stands does a good job of allowing meaningful instruction minutes, but the schedule in this format gets in the way of the student actually receiving the content with much meaning at all. Please consider reformatting the content into shorter blocks of screen time. Thank you. Number 13, Glenn Edgar. Is there really even a question why the kids need to go back to school? My niece is in kindergarten, expected to sit at a computer all day. Are you kidding me? Not fair to the kids and not fair to the parents. Kids need social interaction and you're taking it away from them. Kids are the future. What part of this do you not understand? If you're afraid of the 6% COVID, stay home and don't ruin it for the rest of us. Send them back. Number 14 is Nikki Wagner. Why are we still debating on the children's future? Why? These children are the ones who take our seats when you're holding them back. If they can go to the grocery store with their parents and touch everything, then why can't they go to school? The children need and want social interactions. Jeanette Newer. I have a special needs son, and this has been extremely hard for him. Number 16. Beatrice Moore. My son and daughter are not benefiting with online learning. Number 17. Kimberly Hetherington. Hello, Board of Trustees. I've written multiple times. I am very much involved, proactive, hardworking single mother that's an advocate for my first grader in a special education at Amelia Earhart Elementary. The main reason he is not attending traditional schooling is because his rights and needs to be at school have been denied. Yes, special ed students are being denied FAPE due to distance learning. They are not being given equal access to their education needs. No outside supports are being offered when private therapy centers are holding in-person sessions. These children are just regressing by the day and being denied their right to a meaningful education. Distance learning is not appropriate for my son despite my dedication to be a voice for him so that he's not left behind. This trustee board is not taking his regression seriously. Kids with autism often have trouble dealing with change. They get easily overwhelmed by sounds and new experiences. They often regulate by self-stimulation or stimming. Sometimes they lash out in frustration and tantrums. They can get violent and do self-harm, a strong sensory input. Zoom learning is hard enough for adults. Try sitting a child with special needs in front of a computer screen with a teacher, 2 para-aides, and their classmates, and all the needs and privacy that is lost across the boxes that are then projected out for all to see. It's incredibly sad, encroaching, and a violation of ADA privacy rights. This is the biggest hoax against our children. In the last board meeting I attended, I was able to see how all the safety measures have been created by the task force. My position to you is, are the pieces in place so that we may be cleared by applying for the waiver with the county to return to school? I implore this board to do better, to put together all the data collected from the initial parent and teacher surveys that gave us a majority in favor for returning to school. We are the majority, and we want to waive the right for this to be the right to fight for our children to return to reality in school and not be left in the dark. DSUSD should swiftly apply for the waiver to ensure execution of the proper safety measures already laid out and provide the PPE for those willing to return to job security for the teachers that do not want to return to campus work sites by allowing them to teach from home. To those students with parents who would also prefer to continue distance learning. Sincerely, Kim Hetherington. Number 18, Rochelle Martinez. Net learning is not suitable for young children. A young developing mind isn't meant to stare at a screen for over 5 hours a day. As a first responder of Eisenhower, unable to stay home with my children, I would send my children to school with zero reservation. At home, my children are suffering from headaches, eye burning. My oldest, 7, is now questioning faith because he doesn't understand why his cousin in Texas and Arizona have returned to school and he hasn't. Last week, he was so frustrated he cried, yelled, and was emotional for 45 minutes from screen sensory overload. Multiple teachers are verbalizing the desire to return to the classroom. So I question the delay on the board. My faith in DSUSD is growing every day. Children are not in the classroom when 60% of parents are voicing desire for in-person instruction. The sad reality is many will continue to pull their children from the system for homeschooling and private to avoid further mental stress. Number 19, Joe Martinez. Please push for the opening of all public schools immediately. Our kids want to return are feeling depressed without being able to physically attend school. They miss their friends, and the anxiety of working on a laptop is very stressful to them. The numerous technical glitches and failures of the internet is unacceptable for proper learning. Please open the schools as soon as possible. And number 20 is Faustina Sevilla. I am writing this as a concerned parent and member of the community. The decisions made by the district due to the pandemic have left a negative mark on my person thus far. Without going into too long, I would like to ask from all involved in the decision-making regarding our children's education that you keep our children in mind first and foremost. I would like to see that children's overall well-being is truly considered, and for you not to forget the huge importance of mental health as well. Yes, I understand that some of the children may come out of this stronger, but there are also those who will be scarred negatively from this experience. Schools exist due to students, and it seems to me that this part is being forgotten. And that ends public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tomek. Now we'll go to board and superintendent comments. Mr. Tomek?
Oh, starting with me. Thank you very much. I just would like to begin welcoming Holly. Like I said, it's always nice to have the Horizon students here because you seem to be more involved than most students are over the years that we've had a student board member. And to talk about Horizon School, we have had so many great talented people coming in. We've had professional tennis players. We've had professional actors. Did I say horse jump? Let's see. We've had a number of actors in the program, and it's now nice to have a songwriter along here. I think that is just tremendous. And your actions with the Tuskegee Airmen, I think as a pilot, that is just a marvelous thing to be involved with and to look at their experiences those folks had. So thank you so very much, and welcome to the board.
Having me.
Yeah. Conover.
Hear me? Yes. It is good to see you here today. I do want to give out a shout out to Shadow Hills High School. It was the only school that was able to administer the science CAST test last spring, and with a 13% increase in scores, a true testament to the teachers and staff at Shadow Hills High School. I have no other comments.
Like to make any comments?
Just say thank you very much for these very informative reports.
Mrs. Jonathan, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to welcome our student board member. I'm sorry I'm not there physically, but I am here virtually, and I appreciate your leadership at your school. And as our board member, Mr. Tomac, mentioned, your school has always been an excellent school. It provides an alternative way of educating students, which I guess now everybody is getting a virtual learning model, which is more similar to Horizons than it is to regular school. And I do want to say that to all the people that wrote letters, we understand your concerns, and keep in mind that we are bound by the state of California, and now with this new color that they have. But you might look into what the requirements are. Also, what a district has to go through. It's a much easier process for private schools. And I wanted to finish this up. I wanted to read something really quickly, because I'm a former teacher of 25 years. I agree that being in person, it doesn't take away from that instruction, and I think it's very important. I will say there are moments that show that there are some consequences of this that are positive as well. Adrian Ampero wrote a post saying, today I told my students that they could log off Zoom and go finish their assignments on their own. Most of them logged off except for 2 of them. I asked them if they had any questions, and they said they didn't. They just wanted me to be there while they worked on their assignments. They didn't need any help with anything. They just wanted someone there with them while they worked. So I sat with them virtually while they worked silently on their Chromebooks. Sometimes the kids just want somebody around. And if there's one thing that has come out of this, is that we're seeing that some of our students that would normally go home to an empty house now have somebody that's around that can be there for our students. So I'm hoping that in the future that this will be able to morph, and we may have a different we may look at education in a different way as far as supporting our students. Thank you.
Okay. I'll call on myself. If it was up to me, I would open the schools and I would allow children back into the schools. It is not up to the board to make that decision. Governor Newsom has made the decision of what the parameters are for us to open the school. We could have a vote tonight if it was on the agenda to open our schools, and we couldn't open them because we don't have an agreement with the teachers to come back and teach those classes. So the governor is deemed fit not to label teachers as essential workers and yet label other people as essential workers. No school personnel has been labeled an essential worker. And so until we're given the authority or the governor makes the decision that teachers are essential workers, that we'll have to negotiate with our unions to open up the schools. So I understand your frustration, and we're not clear in what our limits are. But if you read Governor Newsom's directions, we can't open right now anyway because we're not under the parameters that would even let us open. We can only apply for a waiver for elementary schools, and only if we have the consent of our labor. So you've heard that we're negotiating with the teachers. We don't have the consent of labor to open the school, so we can say whatever we want, but until we can get our employees to come back with a negotiated agreement, we don't have the unilateral authority to open our schools. So I just want you to know that, so we're not dancing around a subject and you don't think we're giving you an answer. I think it's important that we open our school. Like you, I ask the question all the time, Dr. Prosser, do you know anyone that's had it, has it, or passed away from it? And I know one person that's passed away and one person that's had it. And so I don't see the numbers and the percentages, But it's not up to me to say, gee, I don't see the numbers and percentages. I'm going to make a unilateral decision. We're going to open the schools tomorrow. Everybody be there, show up. Our employees will be there. The bus drivers will be working. The teachers will be teaching. We just don't have that authority. And when I hear the comments from people saying, gee, just open, you have the authority, I'm telling you, we don't. If we did, I for one would, but I don't. And so I can't. As soon as we can, we will. And I understand your frustration. I'm so happy my son is a graduate from college and is not going to school, because this would be devastating every year. I think when he was in the 3rd grade, what would this do to him? Destroy him. If he was in middle school, what would it do? Destroy him. If he was a high school, I don't know how our juniors last year and our seniors this year are not having their whole high school experience ruined by missing their junior and senior years of high school. How are they getting ready for college? But they're not even on the list. We're only talking about waivers for elementary. So understand our frustration is hearing your frustration and not having the power to rectify it. If we had the power, I believe we would. But we're stuck where we're at. And welcome, Holly, on that great note. Sorry. But I'm glad you're here. It's a good experience for you to be a part of this process. Hear what things go on that are important to the school district. So, Linda Porras, President Porras, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes, I would also like to welcome you, Holly, as our student board member. And it's awesome that you're a songwriter. I have a son that's a songwriter, and that's very, it's a talent that is just amazing. So I wish you the best of luck with that. And anyway, and also I just would like to say that I was on the, with Sean Webb with Desert Sands Education Foundation, little video that he does pretty much every day on Facebook. And he does great with updates, updating parents and community and staff. And today he had Dan Capello, who is the head of nutrition services. And they are just doing a fantastic job with getting food out to our kids. And now it's going to be even easier because they don't have to do all the paperwork to make sure our kids get fed. So thank you so much, Dan, for all that you do. And also I wanted to say congratulations to Blanche for 35 years. You are just amazing in everything that you do. I don't know what we would do without you. And you're a blessing, and I appreciate all that you do. And I also have to tell you that my mom is so proud of you. You were her student years and years ago, and she just loves you so much. So she's so proud of you also. So thanks so much for all that you do, Blanche. And I just want to address the parents and all the suggestions. And I just have to tell you that my heart breaks for the parents and for the kids and the teachers. It is so frustrating for us as board members, because I long for the day for us to be able to say, yes, we want to open our schools and have our kids back in school, because it is detrimental to them. I believe that it is. I have 2 little great nieces and a great nephew, and they are so frustrated with the way that the distance learning is happening. And I just, I wish there was another way that we could do this. This is what we have to do at this moment in time. And definitely open to hearing new options. If there's another way to think outside the box to do a different way of learning, it would be awesome. But we have to do what we have to do right now. But just know that we hear you. We are empathizing with you and understand as much as possible, that we possibly can, because I don't have my kids in school now. And but it is heartbreaking, and I'm it's just horrible that you have to deal with this, but we are doing what we can, and we will do what we can when we can. So anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Mr. Bailey.
Certainly, I want the parents to know that in the audience, and also the parents that sent in the comments, we sincerely hear you and appreciate it. It's a difficult time for everyone. I equate this as taking the path that's unfamiliar to us, the road that's less traveled. The road that's less traveled obviously requires more energy and creates a lot more anxiety because it's unfamiliar to us. In fact, I would venture to say that this road has never been taken before, at least in my lifetime, in my 30-year career. I personally can't wait to return to the physical school as we knew it because I sincerely miss the sights and sounds of the schools. At this time last year, I probably would have had, I don't know, 20 or 30 site visits under my belt by now. And I desperately want to be back in that environment as soon as it's safe to do so. So we'll get there, and I appreciate your support and patience.
Okay, now we'll move on to general functions, business services. There's 18.1 to 18.6, but we have 3 resolutions. So the first resolution is number 08-2020, appropriation due to the reconciliation of the 2019-2020 ending fund balances. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Moved.
By Anna Conover. Is there a second?
Second.
By Gary Tomac. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Holly, what's your last name?
Hinman.
Okay, Holly Hinman.
A second?
No, aye. You need to say aye or nay.
Oh, aye.
Anna Conover. Wendy Jonathan.
Aye.
Gary Tomac.
Aye.
Donald Griffith says aye. President Porras.
Aye.
Okay, that carries 6-0. Okay, resolution number 09-2020-2021, the GAN limit. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
By Mr. Tomac. Is there a second?
Second by Wendy Jonathan.
Second by Wendy Jonathan. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Holly Hinman. Anna Conover. Gary Tomac.
Aye.
Wendy Jonathan.
Aye.
Donald Griffith says aye. Linda Porras.
Aye.
Okay, that carries 6-0. Okay, next 18.3, resolution number 10, 2020-2021, declaring the futility of public bidding for changes in the roof work at Indio Middle School modernization project. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Gary Tomac, is there a second?
By Holly.
Aye. Second.
Holly, any discussion? No, you already. Okay, so this is a roll call vote. Holly Hinman.
Aye.
Anna Conover.
Aye.
Gary Tomac.
Aye.
Wendy Jonathan.
Aye.
Donald Griffith says aye. Linda Porras.
Aye.
Okay, that 6-0. Okay, do you want to take 18.4 to 18.6 as a group or individually?
Move approval of general functions 18.4 through 18.6 is listed under tonight's agenda.
Okay, is there a second to approve these as a group?
I second this.
Okay, second by Holly Hinman. Is there any discussion on any of these 3 items? Okay, hearing none, preferential vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 6-0. General function, education services. We have 1, so shall we take it as a group or individually? Is there a motion to approve 19.1?
So moved.
By Anna Conover.
Second. Yes.
Any discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, preferential vote.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries 6-0. Moving on to general functions, personnel services. We have 20.1 to 20.9. I don't believe there's any resolutions. We've redacted 20.7, which is the first reading of the board policy. So really it's 20.1 to 20.6 and then 20.8 and 20.9. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
Aye. Second this.
Take these as a group?
Aye.
Okay, yes, you do. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Tomac. Is there any discussion? Okay, preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? 6-0. Carries. Okay, general function student support services. There's no resolution. There are two items, 21.1 to 21.2. Is there a motion to take these together or separately?
Move approval of items 21.1 and 21.2 is listed under tonight's agenda, especially independent study. Quite interesting.
Tomac, is there a second?
Second.
By Holly Hinman. Is there any discussion on either of these two items? Okay, hearing none, all preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, 6-0. General function superintendent, there aren't any consent items. Student matters, Mr. Bailey.
Sir, thank you. I have 4 items listed as closed session 3.1 this evening. The board took action to approve the following student matters. Item 23.1, reinstatement of student number 18/19-52. Item 23.2, reinstatement student number 18/19-97. Item 23.3, reinstatement student case number 19/20-10. And lastly, item 23.4, reinstatement student case number 19/20-21. These items were approved on a motion by Mr. Tomac, seconded by Mrs. Conover, and the motion carried 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bailey. Okay, consent items, business services. We have 4, 24.1 to 24.4. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually? Is that Anna?
I take it, yes, that we take them as a group.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Holly. Any discussion on these 4 items? Okay, hearing none. Preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, 6-0. Consent items, educational services. There are 3 items, 25.1 to 25.3. Is there a motion to take these together or individually?
Aye. Second.
Together as a group? Okay,
Perfect.
by Holly. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Tomac. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Preferential vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, 6-0. Consent items, personnel services, none. 27, consent items, student support services, 27.1 to 27.6.
Move approval consent items under student support services 27.1 through 27.6 is listed under tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, go ahead,
late.
Holly.
Okay, is there any discussion on these? Second by Holly Hinman. Any discussion? Preferential vote.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that carries 6-0. Consent item, superintendent, none. Personnel actions, you cannot vote on personnel actions. Okay, so I'm not forgetting you. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions certificated with the change in the typo from Julie to Judy? By Anna Conover. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Second by Linda Porras. Any discussion, Mr. Tomac?
Yes, sir. I'd like to recognize Irene Cabral from Carrillo Ranch Elementary, who's retiring. She's a paraeducator, a special education. retiring after 48 years of service here in the district. I find that incredible. Oh, I'm sorry, certificated. Oh, that's
You have
right.
some
I'm
comments
sorry.
there, too?
I have comments there too. I'm sorry, I got my wrong sheet over this one. We have two, and also a lot of years of service here. Priscilla Castro from Dr. Carrion Academy has 19 years of service. She'll be retiring. And Donna Chesney from Ford Elementary, 14 years of service. Well, congratulations to both of those. I hope they enjoy a wonderfully well-earned retirement.
Any other discussion on these items?
Yes, Linda Porras, I just want to say congratulations to Priscilla. I've known her pretty much my whole life. And so congratulations on a well-deserved retirement, and I wish her all the best.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that's 5-0. Now moving on to classified. Same thing, it's personnel, so you can't vote on those. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions for classified?
So moved.
By Mr. Tomac. Is there a second? By Ms. Conover. Is there any discussion?
Now I can add that properly over here, because when I see the word educator, I forget sometimes that we have a number of paraeducators that are classified. So Irene Cabral from Carrillo Ranch Elementary, like I said, 48 years of service. That is an incredible achievement and a well-deserved retirement. I hope she has some wonderful plans here for the rest of her remaining days. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Mr. Bailey, call out a closed session.
Yes, sir. One item as relates to closed session agenda item 3.3. Tonight in closed session, the board took action to approve the following matter. General release and settlement agreement, SSS number 01/2020-2021. This item was approved on a motion by Mrs. Conover, seconded by Mr. Tomac. Motion carried 5-0.
Actions. Suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Mr. Tomac. Ms. Conover. Okay, Holly. No?
No, sir.
Wendy Jonathan.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Don Griffith has none. Linda Porras.
I have none, thank you.
Okay, announcements.
No announcements.
No announcements. Okay, we are not reconvening to closed session, and we will close the meeting at 8:33.